The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. At that time, Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning, he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and placing her in their midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such. What do you say about her?" This they said to test him, that they might have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, "Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her." And once more he bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. But when they heard it, they went away, one by one, beginning with the eldest, and Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus looked up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and do not sin again." The Gospel of the Lord. My dear brothers and sisters, believe it or not, but I have recorded this Gospel 11 times. This Gospel and this reflection. Every single time, something happens. Right now, the Hardy-Dars are singing their beautiful song outside the church. I'm pretty sure you might be able to hear them if you turn the volume up a bit. Before the Hardy-Dars, Rebecca was in the church, singing her beautiful songs, barking at something or other. Before that, the candles kept on going out. Before that, the SSVP were here, and when they pulled down their grill, it made a noise, and so on and so on and so on. You can imagine my frustration at the moment. But it's a good lesson to learn. It's a good lesson to learn in light of the gospel today. We, my dear brothers and sisters, are sinners. We are imperfect beings. No matter how hard we try in our lives, throughout our lives, we always end up at some stage, at some point, doing or saying or thinking the wrong thing. Something that doesn't gel with our faith life, with our moral commitments. And we end up being a sinner, committing sin. This is perhaps more than race, more than language, more than culture. This is perhaps the one thing that truly unites us all. St. Paul himself says, "All have sinned, and all fall short of the glory of God." And so, no matter how hard we try to get things right, no matter how often we repeat ourselves, something always comes and mucks it up. St. Paul says once more, "Those things which I do not want to do, I end up doing. Those things which I want to do, I end up not doing." We are sinners. It's a fact. At this time in Lent, we would be preparing ourselves for penitential services in acknowledgement of that fact. We would be preparing ourselves to gather as communities in faith, seeking the mercy and the compassion of our God, who is love, a God who is not the legislative, pejorative, demanding, exacting accountant of a judge that will draw the last sin from us like blood from a stone. God is not like that. Jesus shows us that God is not like that. Jesus shows us that God is a God of love and mercy, that God is a God of forgiveness, and that all the laws, all the regulations, all the legislations that we have in our faith life, in our moral life, in our church, all of them are for one purpose and one purpose alone, and that is to bring us closer to God, to make us in more intimate union with God. In more intimate a union with God. And this is what Jesus does in the gospel. The Pharisees tried to trap him. They tried to play him against Moses. They tried to play him against the law. But Jesus knows the law's deeper meaning. He understands the law's deeper meaning to bring this woman and all people closer to God, to a God who is forgiveness, and a God who is mercy. And so, trapped in our homes during this lockdown, let us now, as if we were at our penitentials, as if we were at that point in our Lenten observance when we come to confess to God, let us introspect within ourselves, seeking those places in our lives where we need God's mercy and compassion. Seeking those places in our lives where we know we are sinful and we are sinners. Let us not fear the condemnation of the law. Let us not fear the condemnation of a judgmental God that doesn't exist. Let us instead turn to a God of love and mercy. Let us turn to him in contrition and sorrow. And as we receive his mercy and his love and his forgiveness, let us pass that on to those in our lives who need that from us. As we are forgiven, let us forgive. And remember, dear brothers and sisters, that admonition at the end: go and sin no more. Go and try harder. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up the race. Temptation will come. Difficulties will arrive. Challenges will present themselves. Go and try harder to be better. Amen.